Many parents have welcomed their college-age students back home in the midst of COVID-19. And while they might be excited to have their students at home and safe, there are certainly some adjustments that parents and students will have to make in order to coexist. Today, we're joined by Deborah Porter, life coach for moms and founder of Moms Mentoring Circle. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well, and this is certainly a topic that I'm sure parents are working through on a daily basis. So we're excited to have this conversation. Now, as we talked about, there are many people who now find themselves with more than a at home for the summer type of setup. And of course, we want to help those parents as much as possible to navigate those different challenges. So what would you say are the first things we need to keep in mind?
I think the first thing we need to keep in mind is that your student, your college student, is going to be experiencing a roller coaster of emotions. And so a little extra grace, a little extra patience. This may not be the time to be so concerned about that room not being clean, but be aware that they may be a little more irritable than normal. They may be a little bit more argumentative than normal. And so I would say pick your battles. Really, this is not what they anticipated. And so give them a little extra grace and just kind of let things slide that aren't priority right now.
And that's so important for all of us, extending grace to each other. I mean, you never know how the stresses of this experience manifest for different people, especially those who might have been expecting to have internships over the summer or, have finished out their year in a particular way. So as they're home more and you're home more, it's always important to set expectations, because I'm sure that the way they might have lived in their residence halls at school is a little bit different than the way you manage your household.
Oh yeah, that's a yes. That's a definite yes. And so I think what we want to think about is setting those expectations and those boundaries early. The sooner you have that conversation, the better. We know that college students generally don't get a whole lot of sleep. I had one of my clients tell me that she was getting up to go to work at her desk at 7 a.m. and her college student was just going to bed. So we want to keep in mind that, yes, you're here. We love that you're here. We're happy you're here and you're safe. But this is still home. This is not the dorm. And so there needs to be some respect for those of us that are planning on getting sleep as compared to maybe college students who might not be getting sleep.
Certainly. And it's important to also realize that they're not so much children anymore, but young adults. They make their own decisions. They have their own viewpoints. And so when we think about the different ways that people interpret the health and safety guidelines surrounding, stay-at-home orders and social distancing, how do you help maintain differences you might have between your student and yourself?
Well, earlier I mentioned having some grace and picking your battles and letting things go. This is not one of those things. This really needs to be a hard line on what you're expecting and what you need for them to do to protect you and maybe others that live in your house. If you have people in your home that are susceptible or have any underlying conditions, then having your college student kind of in and out the house, maybe visiting other old high school friends that are also home, that's really not going to be a safe way to keep everyone in your home healthy. And so this would be the one thing that I would say you really need to draw a hard line on obeying whatever your governor or your state or local officials have determined for either stay-at-home procedures or still wearing masks, still social distancing. Those things really need to be a hard line.
And you might find that while home a little bit more, while trying to make sure they're maintaining those stay-at-home guidelines and social distancing regulations, that they might be in your kitchen a little bit more, or perhaps, creating more laundry, or all types of things could be going on. So how do you continue to maintain that level of consistency and, of course, eating nutritiously without them completely taking advantage?
Absolutely. So this might be one of the hardest things as parents that we're dealing with right now. The constant consumption of food, dishes, trash, laundry. And so the first thing I would say is I am a firm believer in closing the kitchen in between meals for everyone in the house. Because what happens is there is a lot of nibbling going on and almost mindless eating. You know, you think about when we're at work or when we're in school, we're not eating around the clock. And so just being at home kind of makes that a lot easier to do. So close the kitchen, let everyone know in between meals, kitchen's closed, here's some grapes, here's some water, here's some other fruit left out on the counter. The other thing I would say is really require your college student to participate in the meal preparation process, whether that child is helping to prepare the food, whether that child is actually cooking the food. Listen, that's a life skill. And this is really a great moment to see how the life skills you've taught your child, how they're developing them and how they're using them. So have your college student prepare a meal. They can definitely clean up after the meal as a way of saying thank you. And that's always welcomed. And then the last thing I would say is be careful not to get back into those high school habits of washing their laundry for them, you know, providing for them. You know, if you were the parent that was contacting the teacher, you know, don't do that in this setting because right now, all of those things would be happening without you. So allow your college student, although they're in your home, give them some autonomy. Let them begin to figure some of this stuff out.
Absolutely. Those are great tips. And I think, you know, it can be challenging sometimes for parents who want to be nurturing, who are taking advantage of these moments that they're kind of giving back with their student. But it is critical that you help them maintain those really strong life skills for what they will do in the future. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, you have just given us so much to think about, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
For more information about Mom's Mentoring Circle and the many different ways that Deborah coaches moms, visit our website, wtbr.com/VTM. In the meantime, we'll be right back.